I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, it was huge, and you could do anything you wanted there. I could get away with anything that I was doing on Thayer Street or out on the streets there under like Randy's supervision or whatnot, and not get in trouble. It was cool.
Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. Hey everyone, it's James. For this episode, I was able to catch up with Kris Hansen, where we talk about his dedication to songwriting and recording. Plus, we discuss many of the people he's played with over the years, what Dropout Night was all about, how he got into doing sound and the venues he's worked at over the years, as well as a story of how he started using the band name Viking Jesus. We also preview each band that's playing Shiza Fest this coming weekend at Dusk on Saturday, August 26th, and the Parlour on Sunday, August 27th. So please come check that out and celebrate the life of Nick Iddon with us all. As always, please follow Where the Living Room Used to Be on Facebook and Instagram, as I'll be sharing some photos and show flyers from Kris's time in music. Your time starting songwriting was early 90s, like 92, 93?
Yes, and started playing out around then too, at the Cobb open mic,
Oh, at Cobb? Okay.
Yeah, I met up with, I think, John Tierney, probably by the time I was 16. Yeah. And I had been going to School One in Providence, so I was getting familiar with the Thayer Street, and that whole scene was really cool back in
definitely
early to mid 90s, even late 90s. It was still thriving, but and that was crazy too, because the city was tough. It was really tough back then, and you had to be kind of volatile and ready for whatever came your way. Like I totally still have PTSD from, my time on the streets of Providence.
Yeah, like it wasn't like a fancy arts culture city. No, I mean it had art and culture, but it was like Safari Lounge or whatever that word is.
Yeah, there were hardcore people there. There were skinheads. There were, like gangsta type.
Yeah.
Huge drug culture. So, and
like literally the mob, or whatever.
The mob. Yeah, there was all kinds of craziness, and we were like that movie Kids, a different version of that movie, but we were just kids like hanging out in the middle of it all. There were many times I stopped and told myself, like, remember this, because you'll never see anything this crazy again.
Wow.
But that was the time, we started playing out. John had been playing, John Tierney's, you know who he is, right?
Yes,
he's, John Tierney and The Truth.
Yep.
But so we were kind of a duo, and we'd go to the Cov, we'd play there. He would get some other gigs here and there, and sometimes he'd, take me along. It was a very slow start for me. I was not a very good, singer, or it's probably still not a good singer, but
I think people would disagree, but but you just were self-taught with that?
Yeah.
You just kind of picked up a guitar and just started strumming in a sense? Or?
Well, I took, there's a folk duo, Atwater Donnelly.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And they have two sons, Noah and Uriah.
Yeah. And
Uriah was my age, and him and I bonded in Scituate.
Yeah.
And
so that's where you grew up?
That's where I grew up.
Yeah, okay.
And Hope, which is like it's a part of Scituate. It's like right in between Cranston and Coventry and all that.
Yeah.
But his parents started teaching me chords, like how to play, stuff like Wild Thing or, easy stuff. And then he got this guy, Matt Dill, to give him lessons. And then I started taking lessons from that.
Yeah.
Probably annoyed Uriah, like, why is Kris following me around learning all this stuff? But, Yeah. And Matt Dill ended up getting a professional name to David Dill. And he's released a bunch of records. I found him on Spotify. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Rhode Island artist. But so we started at the Cov, and then we started, playing Bar One and just wherever we could. It was crazy times back then. Yeah, all our heroes were, like Beatles, Alice in Chains. You had your Jane's Addiction. Big drug culture bands, and we went for the ride a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often were you playing then? Like, were there a lot of other venues that you could go? And was it like open mics, or were you starting to book?
We did a lot of open mics. Then we started playing parties, and we'd play out on Thayer Street. We'd busk.
Oh, okay.
Because that was an easy way to not get your chops busted by the cops or the Brown security or whatever. They didn't carry guns back then, but they were still a force.
Yeah. Oh, so like outside of Thayer Street, they would kind of give you a time of like you're loitering or something like that.
Right.
But like on Thayer Street, they would let it slide just for.
Yeah, if we had our guitar case out or whatnot.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wouldn't even put my guitar case out. I'd keep it behind me. We'd just jam.
Yeah.
There's that movie theater, the Avon.
Avon, yeah.
Yeah, and we used to sit in there because it had good acoustics and they weren't open all day. So we'd play in that little cubby. I'd be skipping school and just playing there, and I'd be getting caught by my teachers, Yeah, it was a great time. We started. John and I had a hiatus. He went to New York to do like a showcase, and he was very good. He was good probably at birth. That kid could probably sing. When he cried, he was probably making good sound. So, I was still working at it. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to record with Phil Green. And, he did Aerosmith and stuff. And I'm going to go down to New York and play. And you can't come with me, Just put it plain and simple. And I was like, oh, damn. But then I discovered the living room. Where it used to be. But I discovered the living room, and it was so crazy because you could do anything you wanted there.
Yeah, and this was the one, like the one
third,
on Rathbone,
the third one,
version.
Rathbone Street. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, it was huge, and you could do anything you wanted there. I could get away with anything that I was doing on Thayer Street or out on the streets there, under like Randy's supervision or whatnot, and not get in trouble. It was cool.
Yeah, okay.
And then I got a gig there. Yeah. And 2 months later, I got a job there. Yeah. Doing sound. I was coming out of a movie theater, and Randy was going in. He used to go to the movies on like Tuesdays, and I took my mom to the movies, and I was leaving, and he thought my mom was pretty. So he was like, "Is that you, Kris?
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm looking for a sound guy if you know anyone." And my mom was like, "He's looking for a job," and Randy stopped and kind of like, because he had an opinion formed of me, I'm pretty sure, at that point. And he was like, "Oh, come down and talk to me, Kris,"
Yeah.
And I did. And for whatever, I schmoozed it right, or he just, he took a chance and gave me the job. And I trained for 3 days, and then I ran 7 bands a night. For the next
bands played there?
Yeah, 7 bands a night. They would do these hardcore shows. I mean,
I just didn't realize
you get
was
these
like that much. But
7 bands, and if they all brought like 20 people, you had yourself a pretty good show.
Yeah,
and back then people still went out to concerts.
Yeah. Because this was like 96, right?
This was 96.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then I was terrible, but I kept working at it, and there were people like Kevin Raymond and Gregory Rourke to help train me, and Mike Aruda.
Oh yeah. Did you have any ambition of doing sound when you started, or was it just like, here's this job?
No, I honestly, I was I had such a dream of like becoming a recording artist and all these things, but I figured if I could get my foot in the door and in the industry itself, it wouldn't hurt, and it wouldn't hurt to, my parents and everybody was always like, you need something to fall back on, which nobody likes to hear, but, you need something to fall back on. So I thought, I'll do this, and I can work around the musicians, and, maybe cool things will happen.
Yeah.
Because when you worked at the living room and you worked in that old school, with that old school mentality, and the people that had that, they expected a lot from you. And Randy expected a lot. You weren't just the sound guy. It's like if you showed up and the place was a mess, and he's like, you're the cleaning guy. You're the stop what you're doing and go grab the food guy for the band, and you learn to just whoop ass and
get
do
it
everything.
Yeah. There wasn't like different folders for people of like, you stay behind the soundboard the entire time, and that's what you're focused on.
Yeah,
and
I learned that over time. I mean, there was a time in the beginning where you would need more vocals, and I would be in the back getting stoned.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like they had to break me of a lot of stupid habits, but now it's like I've worked in almost probably most of the clubs you'd want to go to in the city. Maybe not the Columbus, but everywhere else. And I could probably go back there and work anytime because my ethic is just, you know, I rage it, you know, and I run hot. So it's like I get it done and there's not a lot of bullshit. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you enjoy most about doing sounds?
I think, honestly, I think it's the people's creativity.
Okay.
You know, not all of them have the ethic down when they come in, especially like a lot of new bands. Yeah. You know, so I enjoy like guiding them through the process. You know, so that, like maybe at their next gig they'll be like, fine, they'll know how to show up and set up and all that. You know, I enjoy
don't break down your drums on stage.
Yeah, sort of thing. You know, set it up before your turn. You know, all that and I have fun doing that. Like, they seem receptive every time.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then they get to play for me, and it's the imagination, it's their song crafting. It's, you know, it's a chance to see something for the first time. You know, from the 90s and the 2000s, I think that musicians behaved so badly in some respects that they really killed their crowd. You know, you always heard girls say never date a musician and stuff. I mean, there's a reason they say that shit. Yeah. There's a certain kind of inhibited, like, I don't know what it was, but it was dark in some cases and bad. And now I think, you know, local music suffers the price. Most of the shows are filled with local bands that aren't gigging that night. You know, like musicians seem to be the only ones still drinking and partying in the city, you know, or not drinking but hanging out in the clubs. You know, everybody seems to be on a sober kick lately, which is good. You know, I guess the older we get, the more we got to think about things. You know, long term.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you, but things have definitely shifted, and it's come up quite a bit, obviously, because we're just talking about the history of music here in Rhode Island. But
you think Me Too would have saved us, you know, eventually. Like, it did weed out some of the, you know, less desirable kind of behaviors, and what's left is pretty cool. I wish people would give it another shot, you know.
Or just see what's going on. I mean, it's been interesting to look at, because people do seem like they're going to shows. Yeah, I mean, people paid $1 billion to go see Taylor Swift this year. You know, like so people are interested in seeing live music.
And even on the national level, like you'll see, the Met will do like a few thousand people, 1,500 people or whatever in their shows, and you like, where are all those people for? They don't know about the local scene. We have one newspaper. Yeah. You know what I mean? We don't have like a local hour anymore on HJY or who listens to the radio anymore, or BRU. Yeah.
Any of this stuff that's like just really focused on that. And
it's a weird time. I think if we had gone on strike back when Napster came out and all that stuff, and and the streaming, like maybe we would have had a shot like Hollywood has a shot to kind of stay alive. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. I've seen that, like, connection be made of what's happening with the Screen Actors Guild and like with music, and probably even more so now. I mean, obviously, Napster had its trouble when that first came out, but I feel that it's even more dangerous now with Spotify, just because with Napster, people knew that they were doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing, I guess. Like there was that level of like, we're taking these things. But with Spotify, I can guarantee that no one that pays their $10 a month thinks that they're not supporting musicians, but they're not supporting musicians.
I think it's becoming apparent, but I mean, if you get 1 million plays on Spotify, you get $4,000. Yeah. That is peanuts to somebody, who spent, $4,000 or more or less making their album. Yeah. Or the years of, guitar lessons, or the, the pain and suffering it takes to, you know, create this music. Like sometimes you put yourself through some shit, you know, the ringer, you know, you got to get sensitive or, or angry or, you know.
But yeah, just to get to that, even get to 1 million streams is not something that is easily achievable with how much music and like at that same point, I mean, kind of going back to the 90s, it was, because that was the era that I came up as well. And I remember the bands that I would play with, and when I was able to put out a CD, like that became like another echelon of bands, you know. It's like, oh, cool. So there's a bunch of bands that are playing, but this one actually has a CD that they made. This one has a tape that they made, you know.
Right.
Like, not everyone had that.
I miss all the tapes and stuff, you know. Some of them would be like straight from band practice, but it would be good stuff.
Yeah. But it was just like what we had to do, just what a lot of other bands. And I mean, it's very cool how it's been kind of democratized, that people can just pay for DistroKid and then they can be on the same Spotify as Taylor Swift or whatever. But like,
it's true.
It's just a difficult thing to separate yourself from
and
that.
You have the whole payola thing too now. It's like you literally have to, I mean, the only way you can get like your streams and your followers up is to go and pay these people to place your songs in different playlists. Which I don't know who feels comfortable doing that, but you feel more comfortable doing that when you look on your Spotify and you've got like 8 monthly listeners or something, and you're like, you're trying to do something with it, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's, I don't know, I guess I'm still in that old school thing. Like I was at Armageddon earlier today, Armageddon shop, and just went to check in. I consigned some of the records I put out, the tapes I put out, and I sold some stuff. Like
That's awesome.
sold the High Plains vinyl there, you know, sold the Jesse the Tree tape, and
I love the High
made
Plains.
my day, you know. So whoever it is that bought those things, that Armageddon
Jesse the
shop,
Tree, he's pretty
really
exceptional,
cool.
huh?
Yeah.
He really is. I like him a lot. Ramos?
Yeah, Ramos,
Yeah, I know his family. His cousin played flute on one of the Viking Jesus records. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mariah.
Yeah,
Part of my French.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's amazing. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good talent out here now.
Father waits to choose, maker's mark abused, the rain of fault starts through, filling my heart, my big shoes. When will daddy be home now? She's crying again, and it's loud. Imagine my soul to keep. It's longing to be, wants to be left for sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess talking about like physical media and stuff like that. I mean, I know you've recorded a bunch of albums.
I have. I have so much recorded. I used to do every Thursday.
Yeah.
For like 7 years, I recorded every single Thursday. So
okay.
I have stuff that I've never released. I have like 5 albums ready to come out.
Wow.
And,
what made you want to do that? Like,
it was
that schedule that, you know.
I could get it. I could get the studio time, and I could afford it.
What studio was
at the time? It was Galilee, George Dussault, who I work with, and I could get the studio time. I could afford it, and it was like, it was a lesson I was learning. I was learning how to use that because I played out I didn't start recording until 2006.
Okay.
So I've been playing out for a long time and never had a record. I mean, I've had plenty of live stuff, but never like went in and did stuff. I went to that Six Finger Satellite studio at one point that they had over by Big Red. Do you know the area off of North Main or something?
Yeah.
I forget what it was called. It's been so long now. You know,
I know what you're talking about though, but I'm blanking.
So many parties ago. Do you know what I mean? But I did try to do some recording in there. I booked it for like a weekend, and some cool stuff happened, but nothing came of it, you know?
Yeah, okay.
I think we even left our reels there, and they recorded over it eventually.
Probably like, whose is this or whatever. Yeah.
They tried to get us, but it's like, I've always had a love for making the music and making the art and the experience. I never really cared so much about the business or, you know, back then anyway. Now I'm getting more into it, but, you know, baby steps.
Yeah.
I blew up my head at 23, you know, so like I had that aneurysm thing. So it took me out like through my 20s pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, everything. And who knows, I probably just got real and normal again in my 40s. So, you know, it was a tough one. But yeah, lots of media. I have a few albums. We just released re-released our first Viking Jesus record again. And we do the CD Baby Pro because it goes everywhere or whatnot. Yeah. And we did the Before The Mutations, which came out during the pandemic.
Yep.
Wrote it during the pandemic.
Yeah, okay.
And put it out during the pandemic, which was kind of a foolish time to put out music, you know? There's a reason why they weren't putting out movies, you know, during the pandemic. Like you know, we went and we bought like 300 records, you know, and it just, then our drummer dies and it was very hard to kind of promote it, and like, you know, so we still have a few hundred records, and hopefully we can get our band going again too. We have the kind of like Led Zeppelin curse, you know.
Okay.
So our drummer passed away, last year or...
Yeah, it was March, right? April,
yeah. And we just haven't been able to get it back. You know, we've tried a couple of drummers and we've had some good experiences. We're coming out with, we're doing the second year of Shiza Fest, which is a festival we started for the memory of Nick Iddon.
Yeah, this is your drummer that you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to raise money to buy kids instruments, you know, that can't afford it. And last year we didn't play with the drummer. And this year we're playing with Chris Jackson, who we've performed with before. You know, he's played with us different iterations of the band, you know. But I'm looking forward to it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But I guess while you bring it up, can you talk about the start of Viking Jesus and talk about some of the other members that have been a part of it? Like, have you always performed under that?
No. Like we were the left-hand band.
Okay.
And I was playing with Bob Giusti.
Yeah. And
it was at this certain iteration of the band. It was Bob Giusti, Richard Ribb, who's he's a great bass player, local guy, you know, and George Dussault.
Okay.
And we were playing the Everyman Bistro. We had a residency there on Fridays.
Wow.
It was really cool. Buddy Ciance used to be there every week, and I've got a ton of time with him, man. But this one particular night, I don't know if Bob had eaten painkiller or something or what, but in drinking his wine, but he fell asleep at the drums. Whoa. We're not the band that makes you want to fall asleep, but we were probably playing like a slower song and he just kind of like passed out or something. And all of us were like kind of moved by it, you know, not in a good way.
Yeah.
And we took a set break, or we might have even been finished at this point. And Bob looks like Woody Allen, you know, meets Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter or something. And I let him know that. I was like, you Horseshack looking Woody Allen mother, you know? Beep, beep. Yeah. And he was like, you're a fat Viking Jesus. I was like, cool. I was like, you know, that's our new band name, and you know, I can lose weight if I want to.
Yeah.
You know, it was so that's when we decided we were going to be called Viking Jesus.
Okay.
And Left Hand Band was cool. We had made some progress, and then it was starting to fizzle a little bit. So it seemed like it was time to shake it up.
And like, what year was that? Like,
this was probably 2011.
Okay. Okay, all right,
So this is about 2011. Then we went into the studio and we were trying to make radio mixes of some of our stuff, like bleep out the swears and whatnot. And Bob had mentioned that we couldn't send anything to New York, Manhattan. He said, it's all urban dance down there. And George goes, I can do urban dance. He goes, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we walked out of the room, you know, we went and smoked something and came back. And he had taken our song Ebola and turned it into this like, just, it was kind of sexy, and it was like, it was this dark, like electronic kind of crazy sound. And I was just like, that's it. That's the Viking Jesus sound, you know? And we took this, I like distortion on the voice. I've always kind of had a problem with my voice, you know? I'm over it now, you know? I'm old enough to where it's just, it is what it is. I don't care anymore. I'm not going to think about it. But there was an old, like, tape recorder microphone from 1980 that George had found, like 4 of them at a yard sale, and bought them all for $1. And they sound like you're on the telephone. So I sang the whole record through that, and we made like new versions of all songs that we had. We thought still had some life in them, you know, and needed another shot. So it was basically just like we revamped it and we started it. And then Bob and I had Bob was going through a divorce. I think he had a death in the family, like one of his parents died, and it was whatever it was. Like I'm just kind of trying to think back, but there was some sort of problem, and he had to dip out, and we had to stop working together. I remember I called Sasquatch Dave and I was like, I was like, Bob and I are having an issue, and maybe you can take him on for a little while, because Dave's a very strong personality, and he's a tough cookie, and I feel like if anybody could have steered that, you know, out off the track train, it was him. You know? So, and I guess they had already been talking a little bit too, so it just kind of sealed their deal, and Bob went into Sasquatch and the Sickabillies. And I was going to have my brother drum, because we had a band before the Left Hand Band called The Problem. And he was the drummer in that band, and it was, you know, it was a pretty cool thing. And he showed up to band practice. He's like, you know what, man, I'm in love with this girl, and I'm not going to have time to play in the band, because I'm going to spend all my time with this girl. Kind of like, you know? And Nick Iddon just happened to be at the studio, and he's listening to my brother say all this shit, and he's kind of like smirking and smiling, and Eric leaves, and I'm like, Nick, you want to come in and practice? He's like, dude, I'll be in the band. Like, I've always wanted to work with you, H, you know? And that's how he talked, folks. He was just like, you know, H, and, you know, he was a broski.
He had his...
And he was like, I totally want to play. So Nick was in the group.
Because he was playing, it must have been Canerco at the time?
He was in Canerco, and I guess Canerco just broke up.
Oh, okay.
They had an 8-year run, and they had just broken up. And, you know, Nick and I were friends for 16 years. My first time working at the living room was Nick's first time playing the living room, and he hit his floor tom and it fell off. It was like one of those mounted on the stand floor toms, and it fell off his stand, and he was losing his mind on stage. And I was like, hey man, I got some duct tape. He goes, seriously, you think duct tape is gonna fix this drum? And I said, absolutely not, bro. I was like, but if you can't duck it, you know.
Exactly.
And I was like, let's go get lit. And he loved that. And, you know, we always laughed about that. That's how we met. I took him from this really angry, like, want to kill people state, made him laugh, and then we went and got lit. And it's been basically, that's our relationship for the rest of, you know, his life, was basically, I'd see him, he'd be like irate, and I'd get him nice, and we'd have fun, you know? Yeah, he was a lot sometimes, but he was the best. He's such a good drummer. You know, I mean, he did things before he played with me that just really made me appreciate him as a drummer. I mean, he was an artist, truly. And he looked good doing it. Like, he must have done it in front of the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of that stuff was just too good.
Like, he just air drumming just to,
you know,
just to have it like, all right. And he'd have, well, I guess his hair was at different lengths at different times, but
So that was 2012. And when we would record, George and I, we since Bob had left and we had kept recording and we were doing all that stuff, we didn't need to record drums. So we'd write a lot of that in the studio. But with Nick, we started interjecting them in. We started. He was cool. He hated the way we worked, because
why is that?
Well, because I don't even. sometimes I just have an idea, you know, because like I said, I've been doing it I was recording every single Thursday from 2007 to, at this point, I was still doing that.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like just you, like you're going in with
George, and we're just figuring it out together because George can play any instrument in the world.
Yeah.
And he proficiently. Yeah. And he has great ideas. And so the idea is I go into the studio. I have a song maybe done or maybe almost done or whatever, but I'm going to make up my mind right then and there while the click track's going and I'm laying down the guitar part.
Yeah.
You know, I'm singing it in my head and I'm figuring it out, and I do it maybe 1 or 2 takes, 3 takes the most.
Yeah.
I've got my guitar part down to a click. And then, you know, we'll add the bass, we'll add stuff, or we'll add the drums, then the bass, and you know what I'm saying? But we start talking about it and like, what does this make you feel like? What are you hearing? And then I sing at the end. By like 2 a.m, we've got a song that's probably 80% there in about 5 to 6 hours. You know, and we do that every Thursday. And so when Nick came in, he'd be, what are we doing? What are we doing, H? You know, because normally he would probably, most of the bands, and you probably remember this too, like if you recorded in the 90s, you would learn your whole set list. You'd play your whole set list like over and over again. Then when you got in the studio, you just hammer it out.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then add a couple of overdubs and your album was done.
Yeah.
So I'm going in there like a damn Beatle or something and like taking my time.
Like production staff, you're behind the board.
Yeah,
you know,
getting all ripped and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he's like, what are we doing, H? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you'll see. And I lay it down and he's, I just, you know, I want to know this. I want to do it right. And we'd be like, okay, well, you know, just listen to it and play it as many times as you want. He'd get it in like 1 take. He'd get it in 2 takes and it'd be great. Yeah. You know? And he may not have liked that, but the spontaneity of it and it was awesome. It's always awesome.
That's cool.
You know, if you got like real working musicians and you put them in their, you know, their place with their instrument and stuff, I mean, good things are going to come out. Yeah. I like that spontaneity, you know? Yeah. It's like you can't pay for some of those mistakes, you know, or you know, some of that magic. Yep. And it was great. It was awesome having him in the studio. And with the last record we made, he was there. He played on every track except for one. Okay.
And that's the Before the Mutation record?
No, that's Before the Mutation record, yeah. Okay. But we have a Moon record. I call it the Moon record. It's got a big moon on the cover, you know? Yeah. I don't even know what the album's called. But we released on C, but we've never released it digitally, and that's going to come out this year, and that has them on it too, which will be fun. Nice. Yeah, there's good stuff. I've got a whole mess of John Tierney stuff. John Tierney worked with us a few times. Yeah. I would bring people into the studio a lot. Like Dan Dodd I did some stuff with him. It's like, it's fun to produce, you know, and you get sick of producing yourself, or you might not always have something, so you bring people in. But I've got a lot of unreleased stuff. Nick and I were going to do a band with John called the Dropouts, because we had a night we used to do called Dropout Night. Yeah. And we have all the music for that. John never sang it. You know, he was another one. He was hard to get, you know, to lock down or something, you know. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about Dropout Night? Because that was a series that went on for a long time. And,
well, it started, I got married. We were expecting our first baby, and you know, I just needed one night out a week. That was my thinking anyway. I mean, who knows? Yeah. You're 28. I was an idiot. I can't even tell you. But I was like, I need one night out a week, honey, to, you know, drink and smoke and play music. Yeah. And I had talked the Snookers people into letting me play on their deck, you know, starting like Cinco de Mayo. I was like, just let me set up a PA and play outside. I'll promote it. You don't have to pay me anything. Maybe give me a percentage of the bar once it starts doing well. Yeah. And they were like, sure. So I baked a bunch of pot cookies. Yeah. I rolled a bunch of joints, and I'd go down there. I'd set up my PA and I'd start playing. And once like some friends were there or whatever, I'd start lighting them up while I'm talking to people, because I love to do like a lot of like interaction with the audience, you know, and almost like stand up, like bust their chops, and they're busting mine back, and I'm lighting these joints and I'm throwing them at people, and the whole deck is getting lit, and we're all eating cookies, and for some reason, like, I can still perform. You know, it's almost a tragedy because we really learned how to play very well under the influence of a lot of different fun things. But that's what that night turned into. It turned into this, you know, epic party. And then one night, John Tierney showed up, and we had a falling out for a little bit. And someone told him I was doing this. I think Jimmy Hastings, a friend of mine, told him I was doing this night. And he comes down, and I'm like, you know, you're playing, right? And he's like, oh, I'm retired. I play Christian music with my dad. And I was like, that's cool, but you're going to get up and play, right?
Yeah.
And I handed him my guitar, and then he came back next week and the week after. And next thing you know, we were a partnership again. And we were, and then the bar was doing good. We had this girl, Lisa Camacho.
Oh, of course.
She just started bartending at Snookers, and her and I, you know, made a cool bond. And then she started, because she knew we got paid for the bar, she started slinging drinks. Like, she'd come out from behind the bar, and John and I were making decent money to do this night. And it was just, we held it down for maybe 4 years at Snookers before they moved their location and weren't going to do music again.
Yeah.
It was the most insane night Providence had. It was a Thursday, and so many people came.
Who else was performing that? Like, was it?
We had,
because it was, you would invite other songwriters, or
they would show up, and they were friends, so they would get to. But it
wasn't necessarily like an open mic, but
it was not an open mic at all.
Sort of just like the community of songwriters, like of other
community
bands
of songwriters. I mean, honestly, like when Spaga would come, you know, Matt Hashaway, Spaga. So when he would show up, you're not going to not let him play. I mean, he's pretty incredible, and he does this like beatboxing and knows every song in the world. So, and meanwhile, we're all getting ripped, and we're all talking a lot of crap over the mic, you know. So, it feels more like a party and a hangout. And so it was very easy to pass the mic or pass the guitar and be entertained by your friends. And there were beautiful people there you wanted to talk to, and it was just excellent. So Spaga would play. We had Chris Rosenquist would come down. He was in the Tower and the Fool. Yeah. And I knew him from like Thayer Street when he was like 19. He asked me to play Ocean Coffee Roasters with him. I might have been a couple years older. Yeah. And I never forgot him because he was a cool kid. Yeah. Interesting songwriter, interesting sound, but very good. Some of his Tower and the Fool work, I still listen to it to this day. It's in my mixes on Spotify. Yeah. He would play. Nicky P would play. Nick Pouliot. Okay. Do you know who he is?
I don't know.
Man, this kid, he sounds like Colin Hay meets Martin Sexton or something. And
really? Wow.
And he can do all this guitar tapping, and his songs are just beautiful, like epic. We would do Songwriters in the Round with him and Chris Rosenquist, John Tierney, and I. And so they would come and play. They would be a hoot. Storm Davis would come down and sing sometimes. Nice. All kinds of people would stop by, and if they were like that caliber, they were definitely getting the mic. Yeah. We also had friends that were not of that caliber, and we would totally pass the mic to them too, because it was just, who cared, you know? It was as long as everybody was having fun, everybody was, you know, lit and drinking, it was a good time.
Has reached pretty far. You're searching for objectives to define who you are, and you don't have the money to buy a nice car. The stock market is way beyond your thinking. Over by the courthouse there's a lynching mob gathered around the grass. You know the women all stop, and me, I'm just pretending to do my job. This must be what the Lord had intended for me.
I do want to talk about Man and Wife, which is your duo project with your wife, Tara. Like, how did that come about, and like, what are the songs you're doing with that particular project?
You know, it's pretty much, it's similar. It's I mean, there's a couple of songs that we do that we haven't taught the band or that hasn't been released yet. I have a whole album of ballads.
That's cool.
It's is it?
Why not?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, it's like those guilty pleasures, you know, like you might not drive down the street, you know, with your Phil Collins blasting, you know, against the odds, but you might like that song, you know. It's like these are like they're ballads.
Well, if you write a slow jam record, Chris, I'm gonna buy it.
It's a slow jam record.
I love slow jams.
The whole record.
That's what I dig.
I did cover Mark Cutler's "Can't Give It Away."
Okay.
And that's gonna be on there. And Harry Nilsson, and he did a cover of a Randy Newman song called "Living Without You," and that's on there. You know, so there's some like throwbacks. And I have a few other covers that we're going to release, and I've got. So the man and wife thing, it came about. We couldn't get the bass player to play out so much, and
just as a point, your wife is in Viking Jesus with you as well as as a vocalist.
We were married for a long time, and we were having some issues here and there. You know, I mean, like all couples do, and. She had sung on the first record, and when I first met her when I was like 15 years old, the idea was to make music together. I mean, the idea was to get with her, but you know what I'm saying? Like music was a good catalyst to maybe make it happen, and it didn't work, but I never forgot that. We never forgot our story, you know, and we're having some issues, and it just made sense to like, well, why don't you wonder what we're up to, you're feeling, you know, alone when we go out and play shows, why don't you come and play with us? Just come and sing, you know. Again, like I wasn't always like into my voice, and when she sings with me, I can't really say boo. It you know, she's an incredible singer. Really sounds awesome, and as we go, like she started writing songs. She has an incredible song about her battles with alcohol and stuff, and Panacea, I think it's called, or. So she's so smart too, you know. So it literally immediately upped my clout, like a lot. And we had such a fun time playing. It definitely, you know, saved our relationship for the most part. And you know, hard work saves your relationship, but. You know, it made it so that we could play together. And the man and wife, like someone asked what we called ourselves, and I should have said like, you know, Tara and Chris or something, but I was just like, oh, call us man and wife. It's kind of silly. It's just whatever. But yeah, we have fun doing that. Yeah. And we'll go and we'll play at the Union Station Brewery, and we'll do these like 3-hour marathon gigs, you know, we don't stop.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, like you're just like, you're not taking breaks. You're just.
If anyone breaks, you're losing your crowd. They're going to walk out the door, you know, so, and it's almost a disservice to the bar as much as it is to yourself, you know, so we'll just start playing, and what is it, 3 hours? Screw it. You sit and watch a movie for 2 hours, right? Or 3 hours these days with the way they go now.
Or you know, binge watch on Netflix an entire series. And
But it made sense, and that how we started with Chris Jackson was we were going to do a whole separate band, you know, for the man and wife thing.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to try to do like a mellower version, because Viking Jesus can be heavy sometimes, and it can be and we're like all over the place. Grungy, like 90s kind of rock with like some folky moments in there and stuff. It's kind of weird mix. So we thought we would try to make a little more continuity with those bands. Yeah. And then it just worked out that, you know, Tara's singing and Viking Jesus is just a thing. Like, and the man and wife will just be our duo. Yeah. And it works out that way.
That's cool.
You know? Yeah, we have fun.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's like, it's just her and I playing out together. So, you know, it's funny how many people, like, we're called man and wife, and how many people, like, still come up and are trying to, like, get her number or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. She's incredible, you know? Yeah.
But can't help it. Literally, on the poster, it says wife.
Yeah, I know.
And wouldn't you assume that the man next to her...
No, they look at me and they're like, she could never be with this ogre. This freaking Viking ogre. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. There, you know, personality goes a long way, folks.
But I guess, just talking about shows and the experience of seeing Viking Jesus, let's get back to Shiza Fest. And this is a 2-day event.
2-day extravaganza,
So August 26th is at Dusk.
And it is at Dusk, and then the 27th will be at the Parlour.
Yeah.
Both block parties outside.
Oh, okay. Both start at 1 o'clock.
Both start at 1 o'clock. So, I have to, it's hard to book. I mean, 20 bands, put it this way, 20 bands, 2 days, and it was the easiest thing to book in the world.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves Nick, and he played in so many different bands. So it's like, I have to get all of his bands, and more so his recent bands.
Yeah.
And then I got to get people that I love and people that he loved, and so there was a lot of people that, get left out. Some people that were left out last year, I got in this year.
Yeah.
And then, there's the Saturday we have Donnybrook reformed.
Wow.
To play the show. And they were a huge part of our scene back in the early 2000s. Yep. And they broke up. They went on to do other things. But they're all getting back. Most of them are getting back for this gig, and that's going to be really cool. That's
cool. Yeah, like what was that ask like? Was it an easy one to...
Well, they came down last year, and they came down individually.
Yeah.
To celebrate Nick last year, and they saw like what we did and everybody that was there and the music, and they just,
you got to be a part of this. And...
I asked them.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys saw that, right? And it was good. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, well, would you get back together? And they were like, well, you got to ask this guy. And you got to ask this guy. And so I did. I just hit them all up, I was like, do it for Nick.
Yeah.
Do it for Johnny. Do it for Nick.
Yeah.
And, they all said yes. It was pretty cool. And some of the, we had Tongue last year.
Yeah.
Did you see that set?
Yeah,
Tongue, I was like, there was no way I wasn't going to ask them again.
Yeah.
And they love Nick, and I've done their sound a million times since, 96, and they're just incredible. And so many, and it's all these old, and new bands, or, people that have been in the scene for a long time, such as yourself and Christian and all of us and Gregory and, coming together. And it's special. It's a special show. Everybody there is such quality, and it's going to start at 1, and we're going to do an open mic at 1 at Dusk.
On Saturday, right?
Yeah, and that's to maybe help some of those people that wanted to play that couldn't play, come down and play a song for Nick at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe ensure that there's some people there for the first act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got the list here. So Saturday, starts with
the
open
real
mic.
Marie, Dawn. She's it starts with the open mic, and then Dawn's gonna play, and Nick loved her. I love her. She's really awesome songwriter. I think she went to Berkeley. I mean, not that means a lot to anybody around here that plays music, but it does to me. It's like you cared enough to get an education in it. I mean, she can play anything.
Yeah,
she's really talented. She's got she'll have a nice band with her. She tends to lean towards the hip hop-ish kind of sounds, but totally groove band. She has great songs. The Brown Apples, they're kind of. This kid's got some raw energy, like a Kurt Cobain or something, I don't know if you'd hate if I said that, but he's really cool. He's got great, hooky kind of, I might yell a little bit, but it's fucking good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's musical.
Yeah.
Gamma Rage, which is fronted by Melissa Bellarosa. Mm-hmm. And I think the kid's name is Chris. I'm not sure. He's this tall guitar player guy, and he builds his own guitars.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
they have this. Yeah. They have a really heavy sound, and then she can wail, so they come out and they just kind of foot in the face. This is like the heavy day,
Yeah.
Eclectic Electric, Thomas and. Just a sick bassist, very unique band, awesome backbeat. Everybody rules in that band. The Saunts, one of Nick's bands, epic, heavy, kind of like stoner rock, like Clutch or something. It's really cool.
Yeah.
The Truth Divides is one from I think they were called Eris back in the 2000s or late 90s when they came out. Piano player, very beautiful voice, this girl, and really epic songs. Steve, he was the guitarist for Face Called Hate. It's like a Face Called Hate and Eris kind of thing. Nick really shined in those bands. They were incredible. Sex Coffee is after that, and you know, Sex and Coffee, and Ruth and Charlene, all the essence, and Nick would play with them as well, and they were driving. You know, they have really fun songs. You know, they sing about sex and rock and roll. You know, it's good. Tongue, again, I mentioned them a little while ago. Like, really powerful performance. We're talking, I mean, David Tongue, he's like from another planet, man. I mean, he's just, you look at him, and if he had shades on, you'd be a little scared. I don't know, and he's a really sweet guy. Like, he's a nice guy. I'm sorry I said sweet, buddy. Oh. Nice guy, you know? I don't want him to get mad at me. Like, dude, I'll kick your ass. But their front woman is like, I mean, I want to say she's like a witch or something.
Oh, really? Okay,
she's got some like, and I mean, she really is something else. I don't, you know. I said he's from another planet. She's like from another world, man.
Wow.
Another dimension. And the show they put on is just incredible. Such all energy, like it doesn't stop. Then we got Konerko doing a reunion.
Yeah. Last year was phenomenal.
That was so good, wasn't it? I loved that band so much. I loved mixing them because I had heard Al. Randy always liked Al. Al always, like, he would sell the living room out.
Like Al Diaz.
They were all, Al Diaz. They would all be kids, you know, and they weren't old enough to drink, but they'd pay the cover, and Randy loved it.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd give him a bunch of money, and Al did really good for us over the years. And he was in GTA, and he played drums, he would sing, he would do this, and then he got in with Nick and the boys. They just crushed it. He had a falsetto. It was beautiful. It was like this really heavy metal music with just like a really good voice. And they held on. They played for 8 years. They opened up for really big bands.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad that the music industry is what it is. You know, there's no real hope, you know, for anybody while they're still creating a money market around artists that they create, you know, and build up. And these 6 people in a room are writing songs for, you know, all of them. There's no...
For the artists,
Yeah, until people want a real damn artist again, we're doomed. That's it. Done. Donnybrook. After that, we talked about them. That's going to be badass. And then Hope Anchor is going to close the show. Now, I just asked, and they were like, yeah, you know, we'll do it. They're one of those bands I respect completely, like, especially Pip. He was in the Delta Clutch. He was in the Blizzard of 78. All these, like, what an epic singer.
Yeah.
Like, if I could have had I would love that kid's voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's so cool. And he's got cool brothers. And, you know, this is a real Providence lineup right here for Shiza Fest.
Yeah.
And that's just day one.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, to stay awake for this whole show, I mean, you're going to have to call your old drug connects or something. I mean, this is epic stuff. And that's at Dusk. And for day 2, we're going to go over to the Parlour, which is on Main Street. Dusk is on Harris Ave, if anybody doesn't know. And it's like, it's kind of near Fantasies and where the old court used to be, since we're doing this podcast, right? Exactly. Where the court used to be. And the Parlour is where the penalty box used to be and stuff. So this is going to be a block party. We're going to block off the street, which is probably going to be awesome to all the people that work in hospitals around there. They're going to love that, right? At 1 p.m., The Office is going to start, and that's a Matty Odabashian thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was in the band Grow, and he's in the band Natural Element, reggae stuff. He's playing with one of maybe some old members of Grow. I think that's what it is. But they're going to actually set up, and they're going to play throughout, like, in between bands and all that. They're going to be like our radio, you know.
Instead of going to, like, house music. You know.
So they're just going to have a little setup on the side, and they're just going to fucking rock for us. They're going to do, like, the lightning bolt thing, you know. They're just going to, like, set up in the middle and just, you know, keep it going. And then we have Heather Rose in Clover. You know, she's been in the city for years. Yeah. She's cool. You know, if we all know her, you know, we all love her. We love the band. They're just good people, and I'm happy they're playing. And then Corinne Southern in the Constellations, they're going to play, and she bartends all over town. Good songwriter. She is someone that I saw at open mic at Parlour and didn't need any help. Really? She's just she's good. She's a good person, good songwriter, good singer. She has unbelievable amount of confidence. Chick could level mountains. With determination. Believe me, and that's awesome. And then we have returning artist Jackie and the Wizard. Of course, they closed down the show last year, and I think it was just too much. It was so late, you know what I mean? We all danced, and it was a great time, but she and he are like this wicked indie dance kind of spectacle of just cool stuff, and I think it's a good flavor just to put right in the middle, and I mean, it's hard like to set these things up, who's going to play late and who's going to play, so everybody's been very cool about their placements and not pissed. Helen and the Trash Pandas, she was a good friend of Nick's. I saw her that was the first time I've met her before, but that's the first time I saw them last year. Oh, okay. And they were amazing. Yeah. They're amazing, like a great rock and roll band.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just come right out, like, and she's got a kick-ass voice, and this is like, these lineups are fucking on fire. High Plains, do you know them?
I think I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Drummer's okay, but...
Drummer's all right, man. He's not bad. No, that's an incredible band. Talk about harmonies, talk about songwriting. Like, we're going to come out of Helen's set, and then we're going to go somewhere really nice, really thoughtful, and, it's good music. We're going to enjoy the hell out of that. And then we have the Dust Ruffles playing, which Al from Konerko plays in that band. And I think I had to move them back because Al had to, he had something, I don't know. Yeah, okay. But it's like, okay, Nick's, Konerko band, yeah. So they're there, and Tammy LaForest is the lead singer of that band.
Yeah, and the songwriter.
She's really good.
Yeah.
She's really incredible. She's so, like, unique to me. She's like this great like person. She could freaking take apart your goddamn car. Like she's probably a genius. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she obviously is. You know, I mean, her ability to learn things and do things is just incredible. And I love the band, and Charlene's in that band too. From Sex Coffee, Charlene. Yeah. So this is where Providence gets incestuous. With its bands. I mean, you have a couple bands, no? Or you have?
I have, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of...
You'll play around, people play.
Crossover, yeah.
Then Viking Jesus is going to play, and we're gonna play with Chris Jackson on drums, who plays with Soul Shot and the Agents. And he's a reggae drummer. And honestly, what I love about him is how he listens and his dynamics. Yeah. I mean, he can go really soft. He doesn't drown out anybody in the band. He's it's a nice fit. Yeah. He won't like join our band, but he will play with us if I ask him here and there. Like, so if we get in a pinch and he can do it, he will. Yeah. It's not necessarily, I don't even know if it's not because it's not like his music or anything. I think it's just like he's too busy, As the writer and performer in the band, I would like to think it's like, oh, he just doesn't like us. But no, we're just not good enough.
As the artist, I just think that you don't like me.
Yeah, but no, it's cool. And then we got Ravi Shavi after us, and they're incredible. Rafe is, I was walking, AS220 has their festival. Foo Fest, thank you. I played that back in like 2000, one of the first ones. Loved it. And I like going there to see it. And I ran into Rafe there once, and he was cool. I had met him previously, and he walked around with my wife and I, and then we went back to his car, and he played us some stuff he was working on, and it sounded as cool as David Bowie. Yeah. He's like
He's got some swagger.
He's got swagger. He's so
style and,
cool.
Yeah.
And he's such a, like, again, I'm going to say sweet. He's such a nice guy. Like, he is really cool. And Nick loved him. Nick loved playing with them. That was, like, Nick, Viking Jesus was Nick's thing for a good 4 years. And then he was like, H, you got to play more. We got to play more shows. Got to play more shows. And I was like, yeah, we do. But we had a bass player that didn't necessarily like to play out a lot. And that was Evan Gilroy. He plays in some other stuff. And he's a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, there's reasons. Like, I'm not going to crap on him. He was a great bass player. Great guy. Like, Tara and I just went to his wedding. You know, he's really cool. Yeah. He didn't want to do it. Like, we want to do it. We want to have fun. We want to go out and we want to play. And we just weren't able to. Mm-hmm. So, it was cool that he kind of moved on, and our guitar player, Ian, at the time, he moved to bass.
Okay.
Because he could play bass too. Yeah. And then George came back in the band, and George comes and goes because he gets busy with projects or he, you know.
Like depending on what the studio is doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, things happen. It's hard to play in an original rock band, and, you know, sometimes there's a lot of people, sometimes there's nobody, you know, and you just got to take it for what it is, you know, and he can leave it sometimes and he'll come back to it. He loves Viking Jesus, loves playing the music, loves recording the music, you know. When he left, I got 2 guitar players. I had Ian, and then we got Patrick Condon from The Sauce, the Chelsea Law band, The Sauce, and we had those 2 going back and forth, and that was a cool thing. And then we were like, then, you know, COVID happened and that band kind of got weird. Ian moved to bass. We got George. Things worked out that way. I don't know how I got on that tip, but after that we have the Caw Hogs, which is Steve Delmonico and Steve Donovan and Amato. And I just saw him last night. He's a great guy. Okay. His dad is one of the best bass players I've ever seen in my life. Oh, really? He's got he can.
Well, I think I knew now.
He's an upright guy, and man,
like jazz, right?
Jazz.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could play anything, but I've seen that guy do things with his little finger. He could kill you with his little finger. I mean, it's so strong. Yeah. But the Caw Hogs, man, great songwriting.
Another one of Nick's bands.
Nick loved the Steves. We all love the 2 Steves. The 2 Steves they're amazing characters, good songs. I can't wait to hear them. And then we have Animal Face finishing, which was another Nick project. Yep. Made up of Hash, Gregory.
Gregory Rourke and...
you know all these players like I do.
Joe from the Sons. Like the
Joe
guitarist,
from the Sons,
guitarist in the Sons.
Joe Kraft, right?
Yeah, he plays drums. He's a fantastic drummer.
He's a fantastic drummer.
He plays an Animal Face now.
It's so weird. Like when Nick passed, Al and Joe got a lot of gigs, got a lot of Nick's gigs.
They kind of switched around.
Everybody jumped on him. I did not get a chance to grab those guys for my band. Yeah. You know, it's too late probably, but that's gonna be incredible. They have, they make it up. You know, they're one of those. I wouldn't call them a jam band. You know, there's not.
But it's an
improvised set. Yeah, you know, exactly. They would be more like Pink Floyd versus the Grateful Dead or something. Yeah. They're funky. They're cool. They're really nice. I'd love to do something with them sometime. I've had offers, but I never really took them up on it yet. Yeah. You know? Hopefully we live long enough to make all that happen. Yeah. You know? But that's it. That's going to be the shows. I have some vending coming in.
Oh, you have some vendors?
Yeah, in the vein of my old cookies, for instance. You know, we're going to have some... If fun is your game, you're going to be able to have some there, you know. Clean fun.
This is the podcast insider stuff that we always look for.
Yeah, just so you know. All right? If you listen to this, you know, just talk to me when you get there. If you know me, Kris Hansen, you know, just come up and be like, hey, dude, where's the table? You know,
you look like a big Viking Jesus.
Yeah, kind of, you know. Got rid of the hair, but, you know, I could spike it or something maybe, you know.
Everyone knows you, but... Yeah, it's going to be fantastic and a fantastic cause, and it's special. I mean, I guess I'll just add in the experience of playing it last year.
Wasn't that fun?
It was more than fun. It was like I felt, and granted, it maybe just me as a drummer, looking up to Nick and just kind of being a part of it. Like, it just felt like I need to be on point, and everyone needs to be on point. Like, yeah, so Al Diaz is a fantastic drummer, just like nailed it. Joe was a fantastic drummer. Like, just everyone was just like just so on point.
Amazing performances.
I just felt like, I just needed to be at that level, and High Plains, I felt met that, and
I think so.
It just felt different than every other show.
It was.
Like, it felt like there was a spirit there. There was an energy that was there. Whether it
was
like
that
Nick
classic
coming in, but it was
Providence
just like
energy. Classic, friendly. I mean, some of those people haven't been together in 15, 20. It was like a reunion.
Yeah.
If you ever go to a reunion like family or high school or anything, I mean, there's a special aura around everybody, and it was that.
Yeah.
And I think this year it's going to even be better.
Yeah. So it was really cool. It was just something that I'm grateful to be a part of, and thank you for asking High Plains to come back. And it just means a lot. And yeah, I truly invite anyone to come and check this out and be a part of it. It's an inclusive thing, and
it is inclusive, and it's something. It's something. You'll remember for the rest of your life. I mean, it's that kind of show. Like, magic is made.
Yeah.
And everybody, we're all grown up. We're all like, everybody's really choice now. Everybody's on the top of their game.
Yeah.
This is what Providence local music looks like. And we have some competition on I think that day, but I think there's the Folk Fest going on, the Providence Folk Fest and stuff, but I don't think it's going to affect us at all. If you go into the Folk Fest, you don't know any of these bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or that even ends earlier.
Does it?
Yeah, it's earlier in the day, so I can't remember the exact time that the Rhode Island Folk Fest, which is in East Providence, at Crescent Park. I'm not sure when that ends, but I think it's...
They asked us to play, and we said yes, but I didn't realize it was the same date as this, and I was like, I can't do it, Allison. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I think that's a good problem to have. It's nice that the Rhode Island music scene has this place where you have choices, that there's a bunch of good shows that you can check out depending on what your taste is, or just to go, bop around the state. And that we live in a state that you can do that. Like yesterday, I traveled from Warren to Providence, and there's just a bunch. There's more shows. No, exactly. You're not be like, I'm going to drive from Dallas to
to nowhere
to San Antonio to Houston. No one's going to do that.
We are lucky.
Yeah.
We take this state for granted sometimes, but we got to stop it. It's good.
It is. Is there anything that I missed that you wanted to talk about with your music career?
I guess I just want to mention, we are on Spotify, we are on Amazon. Our music's out there.
Yeah.
Give us a chance. Give it a listen. If you don't like one song, fast forward. The next one will be completely different. We're legit. We're real. We write songs. We go through what we sing and talk about. It's all, it's legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how can people connect with you? Is there the best way to stay up on shows, follow you on
you can follow us on Instagram. We're like Viking_Jesus.
Yeah.
You can friend me on Facebook. And I mean, if anybody's still using that stuff, I don't even know how viable our internet and promotions are. I mean, the best thing I could say, come to a show. Let's meet and let's hang out, and we'll entertain you, and we'll have some cool conversations, and let's live our lives together.
Exactly.
All this come to my work, and hang out. Because it's the one job that I do that we can hang out.
Yeah, and go to the pump house.
Yeah, come down to the pump house.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
Yeah. Awesome venue.
Yeah, there's so many good venues in our state.
Yeah.
But that's about it, I guess. Come to Shiza Fest.
Yeah.
And check our music out online if you can.
Cool. Well, Kris, I always wrap the episodes asking what your greatest music accomplishment to this point is.
God, the records, being able to still do it at 46, that's an accomplishment. Still being alive, I don't know. I played some really good shows, had some open up for some good people. I worked some good shows. I guess my accomplishment is just, still being here and still being viable and still working in the business.
Yeah.
Whether behind the scenes or not.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Being a good friend to the scene, I think, would be
absolutely.
like my biggest accomplishment. I've never really deterred anybody's efforts, or I've just tried to support and make introductions and be a little stepping stone, if I will, or if I may.
Yeah. Well, Kris, I can't thank you enough. It was amazing to get to talk to you, just with the history that you have in Rhode Island, and everything that you've done from sound to your own music to just the studios that you worked in and everything like that. It's really cool. So
thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me.
Yeah,
it means a lot. I've enjoyed your show.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it's cool.
Fair, it's a river. Care, it's my disease. And spirits flow like the winter. It can't stay cold all year. Try, yeah, I'm trying. Lie, I'm always lying. But the spirit knows, and it grows up like a fist. Cry, yeah, I'm crying. And we grow up just like if it all goes well, we'll be out of here.